Hi folks, welcome back to our timber framing project. Today we're back outside and that can only mean one thing: the chain mortiser is out. So stick around and I'll show you what this thing can do. Right, I'm going to pause there just for one moment to say, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do. This is going to be a really fun series and it's going to take us right from where we are now to having a fully functioning workshop, and also loads more DIY projects planned for this year. So if you subscribe, click the bell symbol, you won't miss a thing. Right, it's about time I show you what I've been up to. I'm now at the point that I've got all the west and east mortises done, apart from our two braces each end. I'm going to do them when we come to do the layout. We'll be able to lie them on top and scribe our mortises on from the tenons that we've already cut. I haven't got the space or the manpower really to be laying up all the beams and doing it all how it should be done. So I'm basically taking measurements from beams where I know they're going to go, making sure that I'm working from the same face, cutting my mortise, and then I'll be cutting my tenons at a later point. So I've got regular mortises where our regular posts are going to go. 4 posts down this end, 2 on the end, 2 central, basically split into 3 bays. The only difference is on this east wall, I've got an extra stud. I'm using one of the smaller timbers, which is a 4x7, and that'll just create the stud to frame our door frame. And then this section here, we won't have, but I'm going to leave it all in for now, and I'll probably cut it out once it's in place, a bit like you might do with a stud wall. Then we know everything's straight, and everything will be bolted down to the slab anyway. So the next job is going to be to cut some half laps, the sole sill floor beam. That is going to go all the way around, and on the corners where they sit on top of each other, I'm going to put a half lap. It's really simple, it's not particularly structural, so it's going to be just fine. So basically notching out half of one 90-degree beam, half of the other one, and they'll notch together at 10 and it'll go through, and I'm going to do the same up on the first beam on the wall plate. There is another way of doing it with 2 mortise and tenons, but I think we'll be alright this way. So I'm just going to set my blade, and I've done this measurement based on the timber that's coming here, so I know that this dimension here, which is just under 7 inches, is the size of our beam coming across on the north wall. Okay, how we doing? We've got that. We've just got one end cut to do there. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the half laps are done there, so it's just this one here, which is the floor for that side. So we're taking off the top half of the floor. That means I can raise the east wall and the west wall, and then sit the other plate on. Yeah. Well, just in the nick of time, got inside before the rain started. I'm getting quite good at weather forecasting ever since I started on the roof project. I've got all of the mortises cut on the east and west walls and started labelling up and rearranging beams. Now, the last thing I did before I came in was cleared the whole slab, which isn't that easy with timbers that size. Stacked them off the slab, apart from the 4 ones that I'm going to be working on the soonest. But I managed to lever and roll and get them off the slab so I can sort out our foundations. And when I say foundations, I don't mean the structural side of things, because we've got a huge whopping great slab there that's perfectly adequate for a building like this. The problem is that because the lawn slopes beside it and the ground slopes, we're fine and we're up above the ground level at one end, but up this end where we've got the concrete path and the gate, there's a channel drain, but it's pretty much level with the path. That means that, I guess, if there was a backup of water on that path, channel drain overflow, anything like that, it could work its way to the timbers. Now I've got to decide whether I want to build a wall all the way around for the frame to sit on. And of course, in hindsight, I would have probably done the whole groundworks in a different way. I probably would have just done a standard foundation, strip foundation or whatever, to build our wall up to a certain height, then dealt with the slab inside that. Instead, I've done almost a raft. It's much thicker at the edges, it's reinforced, and it's not going anywhere. But because of the height issues, we are going to have a slight problem or slight risk. Therefore, I'm considering picking up a bunch of concrete blocks and laying those on the bed on the fattest side, if that makes sense. So we're only going to be up 100mm, which is adequate. I'll roll the DPM under there, just so it's kind of continuous. And then on top of that block work, I'll put a DPC before our timber. so it means we're going to have to take a break from woodwork and dust off the trowel and see if we can get a nice level bed. There is one other small benefit, because when I floated out the slab, there's a little bit of variation right at the edge. It's easier to do the bull float in the middle, but when you get to the edge you end up with a little bit of a lip sometimes. I was going to grind that down, but instead we can just, our bed of mortar will kind of account for that, so we should actually come out okay. My only problem is that blocks are 9 inches and we are 7 inches. Now, because our insulation and cladding is going to be continuous down beyond the slab level, certainly further on down where the slab is much higher than the ground, I'd rather carry that insulation down the outside. I can't really put that step on the outside, which means it's got to be on the inside, which means we're going to have a 40mm little bit of wall. It'll be hidden pretty much everywhere, but in some areas it will just mean that things that are on wheels and casters, the bandsaw and things like that, are going to be into the room a little bit more. I know it's pretty petty, but all these incremental measurements add up, and we're essentially losing 80mm off our floor space by doing this. Anyway, fairly good progress made today. If you haven't checked out any of the previous videos, I've started to put together a playlist and everything will be going in there in order, and hopefully you won't miss anything that way. Also, a huge thank you to our continued supporters on Patreon. If you want to find out more about that and how you can support the channel and keep us going, then I will leave a link down below. And finally, if you're not subscribed, then we would love for you to join the channel. Subscribe, you won't miss a thing, and there's plenty of DIY goodness coming this year. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.